Hey everyone, thank you for watching the final part 7 in my headlight cleaning series. We've looked at all sorts of different products, and the one I'll be looking at today was a little bit different because as I was researching this to find the best and kind of different ways that we can use to clean headlights, I came across this from a few YouTubers and a few articles online, and I thought that's a little bit different, a little bit out of the box thinking, and so I want to give it a try and see. The results look good, but I wanted to go hands-on with it. So we're going to sand it down, we're going to apply the clear coat, we're going to see how it works and everything as well. And then after this video watch, I'll actually have an 8th video. I decided to do an 8th one, not on any products, but just kind of a verdict thing, just to kind of decide what works best with what. Other than that though, before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know you guys like what I'm doing. Other than that, let's get started. Alright, so quick explanation as to what this test is. This one here is not a store-bought test or any type of, well, you got to buy some stuff. You got to buy clear coat. You may need to buy sandpaper. Essentially what you're doing is you're sanding the headlight down, similar to what we've done in the store-bought products test, because that requires you to, or the instructions say to sand down. And once you sand and kind of clean down the whole the headlight itself, then instead of applying any type of solutions, polishes, toothpaste, anything like that, instead you're going to spray clear coat like you would if you're painting the car. It's kind of a different and unique take on it, and I figured we'll give this a try. So before we get started, a couple things to note. Make sure, of course, I think I've said before previously, make sure the car is nice and cool when you're doing this. The headlight has to be cool. Make sure you're in a shade area, or it's a cloudy day or something. You don't want the sun beating down on that headlight. It'll make it very hard to do this. If you can, take the headlight off of the car. Also, if you're doing this on the car, you're going to want to mask it off because there will be overspray. Also, if you're doing it off car, you want to make sure the car is not near you, because even when you're spraying, there could be overspray. You get some breeze or anything to blow that right onto the car anyways. So you want to make sure that it's kind of all clear, nothing around that you're worried about getting overspray on, anything like that. So let's get started. So here's the headlight we'll be using today. This, if you notice from the strips and everything, is the headlight that was used on the insect repellent video, the first video in the series. I'm reusing this one again because it's really kind of the perfect candidate for something like this. Although the insect repellent did a lot to take off a lot of the staining, as you can see, obviously you still have the tape marks, so this is a good test for the tape marks. But also it's still got a lot of like all the stain, I think it's a clear coat that's come off, everything here. It's still got a lot of pitting because, of course, you're not sanding with the insect repellent, at least the test I did. So this is kind of a good test that we can use for the clear coat test. So with that said, of course, we got to go through our first procedures, and that's cleaning our headlight. All right, so we start off as we did with all the previous videos: clean sponge and some car wash. I just don't want to move around too much. Let me just clean that off. Now, with the cleaning of with using this with the bug spray in the last video, you know, it does make cleaning. There's been some prep. At the same time, there was bug spray put on it, but we're going to try to clean all that off. It's been sitting now. I've been filming this over a couple days, so it's been sitting a bit. Alright, and then once that's done, it's just a matter of drying it off. Same thing as before, get a nice drying cloth, lint-free, microfiber, chamois, whatever suits your need for this scenario. Alright, so the light is now dry. Still going to give it a couple minutes to completely air dry, make sure it's covered everything off. Then we'll get started on our sanding process. Alright, so we're going to begin the wet sand process. You don't let the headlight really dry at all. I'm just doing that for the purposes of the test. I'm just going to turn it up, and I'm actually going to turn it up just so you guys have a better angle of it. So wet sanding, of course, I'm going to start off with something a little more aggressive at 600 grit, and then we'll move up to 1,000. So I'm just going to spray that down. Spray down my sandpaper, and we're just going to go at it. Change hands here. Now, depending on the condition of your headlight will determine
how aggressive you want to be with it, but don't be too aggressive because you don't want to damage it too much, right? Essentially, you're doing this to get a nice kind of fog to it. Nice, even, smooth strokes. The main concern I'm going to have is there is a big difference between some different spots here, and I'm not sure if this is going to take it all out. The hope is it will, but we'll see. So you're going until there's kind of a fog that starts appearing. Just going to turn it up a little bit here. It's already much smoother, very smooth to the touch. Shot there. Okay, I think she's got a decent level of fog to it there. A lot of it's come off, not everything, but again, we'll see if the clear coat would compensate for that. Now I'm going to move on to the 1000 grit. So the purpose of this test, I'm actually going to use this, which was used in the McGuire's test. Kind of like the feel of it and everything. I'm using the 1000 grit sanding pad there. Same thing with the pad. Right here. And have at it. Ideally, would have been nice to have different headlights in various levels of disrepair, hopefully all in really bad condition, because that would have been the most fair test. But unfortunately, I don't have the resources to get myself so many headlights. But as you see, I did have enough that I can use. Oh, foot here. Stop moving around. I think that gives us a good surface to work with. So I'm going to let that dry for a bit, and then we will begin the clear coating process. Alright, so as you're getting ready to spray, As you would any body work, you'll also want to make sure that you have a completely clean surface. We just, of course, did some sanding on here. Using anything like non-greasy cleaning spray, isopropyl alcohol. In this case, I'm using one of those cleaning wipes used for body work and stuff like that. So I'm going to use one of those here. And you're just going to clean it off. Alright, so once cleaned off, you just got to give it a minute to dry and then we can start spraying. Alright, so we'll begin the first coat of clear coat on here. So just even sprays right across. You don't want to overspray, so even if you spray and let's say you miss a spot, you don't want to go back and, if you can, well, go back if you can, but you want to avoid it if you have a lot of spray everywhere else, because if you do, you may get overspray in other areas and then it could run, and you don't want that either. So we're going to go ahead though and that's it. That's it for your first coat. We leave that for a bit to settle in, and then we'll apply a couple more. You should need about 3 coats, maybe 4. We'll see how it goes. Alright, so it's getting a little bit dark now, but as you can see, here's the final product. It's got a little bit of a cloud to it, which is to be expected because we are spray painting and clear coat on, and it hasn't even cured or even gone close to drying yet. I just literally just sprayed the 3rd coat on. I'm going to leave it at 3 coats and we'll see how it does. I'm going to store it now and leave it for 24 hours to dry. This is, of course, the trickiest part to it, because if this is on your car, you basically would have to ensure that you're without car for that 24-hour period while it dries off. But while we do that and I let it cure, we'll come back tomorrow. I'll take a look at it. It may have a slight haze. I may have to go over it with some finer grit sandpaper, let's say 3000 grit or something, to smooth it out and see how that works. And then we'll do a comparison and we'll take a look, and that'll be it. Here we are. Just about 24 hours later, just under 24 hours, and you can see we've now completed the clear coat on there. Brief description on here. If you look at the top, where there was a lot of scratches, discoloring, everything like that, obviously between the sanding and the clear coat, that's all gone. Some parts where there was extreme discoloring, it hasn't gone away completely, but it has taken care of all of it. And of course, I do wonder if maybe some more sanding or maybe a more aggressive sandpaper beforehand would help take care of that. This does have a bit of a, it's not completely clear, not as clear as we were hoping for. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a light wet sand with some 3000 grit and put some wax on it, and we'll see if that makes any type of improvement. So I'm actually going to do that right now. You guys have seen the sanding already. The 3000 grit, it's the same procedures before. Wet the sandpaper, wet the headlight itself, and then just kind of give it a very light scruff. We're going to try that now and see if it improves the clarity and takes care of maybe some, there's a little bit of a slight orange peel going on there. Let me see if we get it closer so you guys can kind of see. So we'll try and take care of some of that, and I'll be right back. Alright, so now it's all done. We've I went over it with some 3000 grit sandpaper, got some of the orange peel off it, and go super aggressive on everything, but got him, it is very smooth to touch with the exception of areas like here and here. And I have a feeling that if you were doing this on your own, I would even say that you would actually probably, after doing this, you'd probably go over it again with some more sandpaper. Quite a little bit of work. But the bottom line is it's all done here, so we're going to just go and apply some wax to it now. You want carnauba wax, to give it a nice sheen. And also when you're doing this, you're going to want to put some good elbow grease into it, just like you would if you were doing it in your body or your car. Really work the wax in there. Of course, whatever you feel comfortable with. I'm going to leave it at that. I'll give it a few minutes to haze over, but whatever you feel. Of course, if you want to put even more in, you can feel free to do so. I'm going to give it a few minutes to haze and we'll come and buff it out and take a look what it looks like. Alright, so I've obviously buffed off the wax now, so this is the completed product. I have some other things to address, but before I do, we can see how it looks here. It's very, very smooth to the touch now. The clear coat has worked out quite well. A lot of the scratching, there was tons of scratches and stuff that was off on the top here. That is now all gone, also the discoloring. Along the side here, there was where the clear coat had come off. And also on the front here, and then when the clear had come off, it got exposed to a lot of elements, including stone chips and so on. That is obviously very much still showing through. The parts, though, that it wasn't, it's showing very good. I guess a couple things we'll address, though, in regards to doing this, because this is kind of the most advanced of all of them, simply because you have to have a general knowledge of how to sand and bodywork and what orange peel is and so on. Also, at the same time, too, which I'll address more in kind of my final video, is you got to know certain things, like, for example, these marks that are on here. I think before doing the clear coat, with a lot more effort in sanding and stuff like that, maybe using a stronger grit would have taken this out. I think I mentioned that before, because and even here you can still kind of feel it. So I think using a higher grit sandpaper to start would have helped take that out. Also, if you look, although it's still looking very, very clear, there is a very slight orange peel to it, and I think a little bit more buffing, maybe a little bit more wet sanding, and maybe even using a buffer would help kind of eliminate some of that. So there is some work that needs to be done in something like this, but the results are still quite good. It looks nice, good finish on there, good feel to it, and of course it's protected. It's UV protected. Now all the cracks and dings and chips and everything are all filled. It's just now these couple areas here. So that's it. This is now the 7 parts, and I know there's lots of other different ways out there. I covered 7 of the most popular, or the most mainstream, or the ones that are kind of being tossed around on the internet a lot now these days. So hopefully by looking at all these, you kind of made a decision. Do check out, I will have a final video, which will be the 8th video, and it's just going to be a kind of final follow-up, just explaining each one of the process a little bit more in detail, and kind of final verdicts on things. It's kind of a nice little follow-up video. Other than that, though, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and sub, and I will see you next video.